setup here. Anyone out there? Say hi. I'm going to put you guys a little higher. I had to move from outside. I'm sorry. I had to move from outside because, of course, we have technical issues with the wind. But welcome to Live at 2. I'm in the Nature Center in our playroom because today we are going to do a feeder watch. Now, the feeder watch is right here. So I have our bird feeders right outside here. But before we do that, I figured we get to make a few feeders ourselves. So my name is Cheryl Fisher. I am a staff member here at Cedar Run. I've been here for 10 years. Not only do I work education programs, but I also get to work at the hospital. But I am also an avid bird lover. This all started from my childhood, just sitting at home. My parents always had a bird book sitting by their sliding glass window, so every time something came to the bird feeder, we could just look them up ourselves. So today, we're gonna make some bird feeders. Now, all of us have junk at home right now. So everything that we're going to use today is stuff that you can find at home. Now, I have plastic material like crazy. I know, reduce, reuse, recycle. So reduce by not even using it or picking up to buy it. But what we are going to need today is maybe, it doesn't matter what shape, lids. We know that we always have the lids that don't fit the bottoms. So I did this before I came here. I actually tried to match up everything and I couldn't find a match to this one. So this one got to come with me. So all I did was punch. I took a hole punch. These are really fragile, so I found if I punched too close to the edge, I'm trying to show you guys, if I punched too close to the edge, it just cracked. So I ended up punching down here. Now, I had to use a different hole punch too, where it had a little more room where it could fit around here. So you could use a pencil or a nail, but I found these little corners were wonderful. So we're gonna make a little bird feeder out of this, okay? We're gonna make a little bird feeder. Hi, Jean Woodford's here. I'm very excited about that. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna make a bird feeder out of this useless plastic material. Many of you might not know, but this says 5. So the way to know if it is a recyclable material, which this is not, they have these triangles at the bottom of them. So in my county, in Camden County, I believe Burlington County as well, we only recycle 1s and 2s. So 5s, this one's a 5, is not recyclable. I have an 8. So this has to be reused because we cannot even recycle it in our county. So why not reuse it? So just because it's plastic doesn't mean it goes in the trash. So what you're gonna need is just some yarn, string, thread, anything. And you're just gonna tie a little knot around each of the 4 corners. I hope some of you guys are running to your cabinets to clean out your cabinets, because I know that's what most of us are doing right now. And so you're just gonna tie here. You're gonna do that 4 times until you get something that looks like this. Yes, this is the bottom. It is not the match to the bottom. This one didn't have a lid at home. So I also did the same thing with here. So TV Magic, I have this one ready to go. So this one is actually wonderful as a water dish. So this water dish, because it's a little bit deeper, you can just put about a 1/2 inch of water in there and it's one of the necessities for birds. We always think about feeding them, but they love water. So you just tie up all 4 strands. And this one, I made a little loop. You don't have to do a loop, but it's just a way to hang it outside. So hopefully the Wi-Fi will wait for us, and we'll be able to go out and hang this. And already I see some visitors that are coming to the area, so maybe we'll get to see some friends. An additional thing that I wanted to say is if you're going to use this for food, I would recommend punching, using a thumbtack, punching a hole in it, just so it doesn't mildew in the food, okay? And it creates some drainage. All right, next one. Let's see. What did I find in the trash today? I found a garlic bin. My garlic went bad in the fridge. I actually planted it, so it started growing. So I planted it. Why not make your own garlic, right? So here, all I did is, we're gonna have to take the lid off because we're gonna have to fill it. I tied a string around both edges, and I actually used the thumbtack to poke a hole in here. And I find that sharpened pencils work the best. They're gonna become the perches. So I made a hole just a little bit down here, and about 1.5 inches above, I made a second hole. So this is where the birds are going to access the food. So in here is where I'm going to push through. Let me see, I'm gonna push through the pencil. Bear with me, guys. Moms and dads, you might want to help with this. Okay, and it just punches right through, especially if it's a sharpened pencil. So these now become perches for the birds. So there's a hole up here. You can cut that bigger or smaller depending on the size seed that you're going to put in here. I would recommend using black oil sunflower seeds. So as we prepare this, I'm going to cut this hole a little bit bigger because I am using sunflower seeds. So they want to be able to access it. And with the power of gravity, nothing will spill out the side. And we have a bird feeder from the trash. Put some seed in here. I'm going to try not to spill it all over the floor. I promise I'll sweep it up. And again, I punched some holes in the bottom of this with the thumbtack, just to reduce mold from growing in here. You put the lid back on, you can see that there's a hole here. There's a perch. And we are going to now put the lid on. It's not going to get wet. And we can now hang it up outside. So you don't have to buy anything. This is just, we're at home. What kind of things do you have? And of course, you can do the same thing with a water bottle. Other things that I found were straws. I have metal straws that I was given for Christmas. I'm not a proponent of using straws at all. So I was going to use the stainless steel straws, which are actually cleaner for birds. They can transmit diseases to each other. But these are temporary and these are fun. So this is just a different way that you can do it. And then we have our Pinecone bird feeders. So there are many of you that are allergic to peanuts. And this is the old Pinecone peanut butter bird feeder. But now we use Crisco or just vegetable shortening. So we're going to use the vegetable shortening. And you need a pine cone. Additionally, you don't need a pine cone. You can use toilet paper rolls. You can use paper towel rolls. They are biodegradable. And one thing that I would recommend is make sure that you tie your string around it first because it gets very messy after you put the oil on it. So we're gonna put on some gloves. You don't, of course, we have to use soap and water like crazy. I'm gonna put this down right now and I'm gonna put on a pair of gloves. And I got the extra small. And for those of you that know who I am not extra small. All right, so I'm gonna take this guy. You guys can see it. And I'm gonna pack it in there because the fats are really good for the birds. You can make suet out of bacon grease. I don't eat bacon, but my husband does. My chickens usually get it. But this, we're gonna put this here. And you can see, just squish it on in there. This kind of looks like our little owl from last week, but it is not fluffy, I promise you. And then we are going to roll it around into the black oil sunflower seed. I recommend black oil sunflower seed just because it doesn't have a lot of the fillers in it. Some of the millets and the seeds are just meant to fill up the birds. They really don't have a lot of nutritional value, and these ones really are the best. So black oil sunflower seeds, unsalted of course. So now we have this one ready to go outside. Now, one other thing that I found, I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to hope that we can actually go outside. So I see that I have visitors, but I'm going to show you guys an additional thing that I set up. So I went through the garage before I got here, and if you're anything like me, I save everything because there's always a use for it. You never know. So I store things, and if you have those random plates or bowls and not just plastics, they make wonderful bird feeders and watering areas for them. So let's go outside, hang up our bird feeder, and see if we get anything. And then we're going to come back in and we're going to take some data. Yes, I'm a science teacher. So we're going to take some data and I'm going to teach you how to identify some of these birds that do come to our feeder. So let's go outside. Hi everybody. Let's see. So we're going to take this out. You want to bring me the garlic one? Thank you. All right. So here we are. I'm going to hang up this little bird feeder right here. Boop. Okay. And then we have this one. Let's see. Where could you tie a knot in the top of that one just so I can hang it on the... Thanks. So here we are in our feeding station. So hang in there, guys. It is just me today. So a couple of things that I found. Some of you guys might get plants every year. So I have these plant hangers like crazy. And it's all right. And these plant hangers, you can hold the dishes, the plastic dishes in here. And I put water in there. So one thing that we need to do for our, let's see if we can get a good shot of that. One thing that we can do for our bird friends is to make sure that we have at least a rock in there because they can't really see through water and they don't understand depths. So I put a rock in here. So here we go. So I put a little watering area for them right there. That's okay. And here I have a plant stand that I can't use anymore. So here's my plant stand. and my cats eat plants like crazy, so I can't even use this. So here's my plant stand, and I put just, yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Thank you. So here we go. Here we have our rock, and we have a plate, and I put it right down on top of my plant stand. And underneath the plate, that's okay, I can make it work, I have some birdseed. So the birdseed is protected by the water dish. That's good, thank you. So it's protected by the water dish. So it provides some safety for the birds. So some people always say, how can we stop hawks coming from catching the birds at our feeder? Well, as you see around here, we have these beautiful rhododendrons, and they actually provide shelter for a lot of the songbirds. Some chickadees that are really upset with me. So fun fact, chickadees, the more times that they say D, the more dangerous you seem to them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go inside and we're gonna see if anybody comes to our feeders. So we'll take a look at our feeders from inside. Yeah. All right, you guys wanna come inside and we're gonna look for birds. You guys are gonna walk through the nature center with me. Ta-da! Here we are. So this is our window to where we just were. Oh look, there's a little dog out there. Oh, so here is our window. It is a wonderful place for us to take a look at the animals that we see out here. And I'm going to show you how you can identify some of these animals. So I'm going to prop you guys up here. Hang in there, sorry. All right. So the first thing that you need to do, I'm going to look behind me and see if we can see some birds coming through. But the first thing that you need to do before you identify birds is to kind of really get to know what the body parts of a bird are. So the body parts of a bird, to help you identify what might be out there, one, the sound, that's tough, but you want to look for these field markings. So you want to look for maybe colors on the crest. You might want to look for the shape of the beak. Of course, the general size. And then their wings. They tend to have these things called wing bars, and their tail shape can tell you a lot. And of course, the size of their legs, the color of their legs, and the way that they perch. Does anybody know what kind of bird this is? Anybody out there? I see 23 of you right now. Hi, everybody. Hi, Heather. So here, this is a goldfinch. They're pretty easy to identify. They are yellow. The males are yellow. The females tend to be a little bit brown, which makes it really difficult for people to learn how to bird, because males tend to be more brightly colored, while females tend to be that a dull color would be better for a female. Anybody? So the dull color, I know Miss Erin and Miss Rachel were talking about birds this week. So the dull color helps them actually hide or camouflage a little bit better when they are in the nest. So we have some songbirds nesting right now, and you guys probably have them in your backyard. So you're gonna see these beautiful colored birds out there, but be sure to look for those brown ones as well. So I have started, I'm gonna turn this camera around because I'm gonna show you what I have started for you guys. Okay, so for those of you that like science like I do, I have started my journal, which is on a big piece of paper here. Usually I'll carry a journal around, I'll put a date on it. So you might want to write down what type of bird or mammal do you see out there, because we do get mammals. You see I put squirrel and chipmunk. And you want to write down the number that you see. You might want to take tally marks. So you might want to take some qualitative data. So general observations like, are they feeding on the ground? Are they hopping? Are they flying? Do they like to hang out in the bush? Do they grab stuff? Or what colors might they be? So these are birds that I've seen as I was preparing to visit with you. So I've seen the brown-headed cowbird, definitely some squirrels, chipmunks, tufted titmice, juncos, chipping sparrows, and the chickadee. So now that we've come inside, you can see that I put out that feeder out here. That is my little plant feeder out there. We can see if anybody comes there. We have the seed feeder in the tree. And the best way to deter squirrels from coming to your feeder is to put up the baffles. So these are called baffles. So they climb up the pole, but they can't get to the top. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we're trying to look for animals that might be hopping around out there. So do we see anything? Of course, I was just out there and we had a visitor. So they say 8 feet from any surface is a good idea. So that square thing that's out there, that is called suet. The tall, skinny one is finch seed, it's thistle. So we know that we get finches around here. Ooh, do I see something? I see a reflection from the water. And you just want to sit patiently. See that? You see it? And you can see these lines on our windows. That is to reduce impact. So these are very big, shiny windows from the outside. And it tends to look like a forest. So these lines on the windows actually help reduce impact of birds flying into windows. We do experience that quite a bit at the animal hospital. They do normally recover from it, but this just helps reduce those impacts. Let's see, do we see any? It was very busy out here this morning. So you just have to be patient. That's half the fun of birding. So I'm going to turn this around again. Hi guys, I'm back. And I'm going to show you how to identify some bird shapes. Okay? So at our feeder, we're going to see several different kinds of birds. So out here, we do have some mystery birds. You've probably met this one already here at our Tails at 2. But this one, does anybody know what kind of animal this one might be? Let's see. If you've been following, that one's our great horned owl. Okay. And then this one here, this one's very confusing because in the forest it's actually brown, but in the bright light, he's blue. It really is just the shape of the feather that helps reflect that light. So sometimes we see these guys, but we tend to see them in more open spaces down by our power lines. So this, anybody know what it is? Anybody know what it is? Let's see. It is an eastern bluebird. So there you go. And I'm keeping my eye out. Of course, the squirrels have found the food. And I know I have a friend out there that loves the squirrels. And down here, you can see these body types, okay? So this one, we're not gonna see too much of around here. These guys like to live by the ocean or parking lots where they can find free food. And this one is a gull. Now, we do see these guys around the feeder sometimes because we live very close to the water. So they tend to scoop things up. And this one is called a godwall. So while it's a type of duck, they tend to have very different colorings for males and females, just like our songbirds. Now we definitely see these around here. So I hear these guys a lot. Does anybody know what kind of bird this is? So this one's going to come to our feeder, and it's probably going to eat the suet, which is made of that Crisco like we just used, the vegetable oil, because they like to eat those fatty bugs. And they have this amazing anatomy where they can pound into the tree and not actually injure their heads. I think that's kind of incredible. And their tongues actually wrap around inside their head so they can insert it into the hole that they just made. So this one is a flicker. So they have very pointy tail feathers to help support them on the tree. And they do end up on the ground occasionally, but they do search for insects, and they tend to like the suet. Now this guy's not going to come to your bird feeder, but he might hunt things that do go to your bird feeder. So this one of the identifying factors here is the red tail. So this is a red-tailed hawk. They're also known as the chicken hawk. So they tend to eat chickens. They like to fly out in the open. They have a very wide wingspan, but they do tend to eat smaller birds. So they tend to also eat squirrels, which like to frequent bird feeders, and they're very lazy birds. So they like to search for an easy meal, and sometimes it is your bird feeder. So we recommend that you provide a lot of shrubbery like we have here, and that way your birds feel quite comfortable. So here we have, I'm looking out there, oh, I see some action. So we're going to take a look. So where I like to look is in the shrubberies. So this is what we have. We have a tufted titmouse. I'm going to turn you guys around again. Okay. So the tufted titmouse just came to the thistle feeder, and he keeps coming, and he is the identifying. He also has this crest or peak at the top of his head, and he grabs something and he goes back to the rhododendron because it's safe in there, so he knows a predator can't see him in there. I did just see 2, so I'm going to mark 2 on my tally sheet because somebody said I'll take some of that. So here he comes again. They tend to have a light gray belly, and they have this beautiful dark eye where they really kind of do look like mice. So we have the tufted titmouse out there right now. Somebody else just came flying through, and that one is checking out our feeder over here. So he is here. Here's our feeder hanging in the tree, and he is on our feeder. Yep, so just like that. So he was a chickadee, and the chickadees make a wonderful sound, like I said. There's our tufted titmouse. And he says chickadee dee dee, not the titmouse, the chickadee. And the more D's that they say, I said this earlier. Ooh, we have a squirrel friend. So the squirrels, they tend to just go for the things that fall on the ground, and that's okay too. They live here. What do you find? So he found things that fell on the ground. And you can just watch behaviors to see how nervous they are or how comfortable they are. Oh, and we have a brown-headed cowbird on the ground. Let me see if I can see him. Yep, that is a brown-headed cowbird. Now they're kind of confusing this time of year too. The brown-headed cowbirds do have brown heads and black bodies. Well, this one's kind of gray, which means it's a young bird. It's probably a first year. Or it's a young female. So you can kind of see her. There she is. Very dull, so she's going to hide a little bit better. You can see they're hiding in the shadows. That helps them with predation. Oh, and I have another squirrel friend. So you can see they can't access the tops of the feeders as long as they're 8 feet from the ground or 8 feet from somewhere where they can jump. I have 2 of them now. So I would add that to our data. We have 2 squirrels, 1 brown-headed cowbird, and 1 chickadee, and 2 tufted titmice. Let's see, oh, their cowbird is still working at the bottom of the thistle on the ground where the baffle is. You guys might be able to see it. Oh, tufted titmouse came in. It is on, nope, you saw him go back into the rhododendron. There you go.
According to All About Birds, barn owls have its...
Oh, who do we have here? Well, we have an argument with the squirrels. And then we have our brown-headed cowbirds are coming down. Now there is a male. So you can see he came down, he's very shiny. I'm not gonna go through there because of the screen. So you can see he's shiny on the ground. He's much easier to read, very brown head. Oh, we have a cardinal. So now we have a cardinal. He's up here in the tree. Let's see if we can see him. Now, only the male cardinals are red. Female cardinals tend to be brown. And that's for the same reason that I said that most birds, female birds, are brown. Oh, we had quite a few that got startled off because of the squirrels. The bully. Where's that squirrel? And we have a blue jay now. Let's see. He's in the shrubs. So these rhododendrons really are a wonderful protector from predation. So they're very weak, so the squirrels tend not to jump up in them, but they're great for little songbirds, and songbirds are called passerines. Now I see a lot of birds, so one thing that you could do is just to sit quietly by your window and take a little bit of data. There you go. Anybody see those birds on the ground? Do you know what they are? This little guy walking around, he just came down. It's a brown-headed cowbird. And another one came in. Now, brown-headed cowbirds are pretty interesting. They're parasitic breeders or brooders. They lay eggs in the nest of other birds. It usually tends to be cardinals. And other birds actually feed them and raise them. But somehow they know how to find each other come spring, even though they've been raised by another species. Yep, we've got quite a few up here. We also have some chipping sparrows. So chipping sparrows have that bright red head. I'm going to show you guys as we watch. You guys let me know if you see anything. So this is a chipping sparrow. Now they're very, very small. Oh, we have a mourning dove now. They are very, very small and they have that red head. I'm going to show you. And they chip. They make an adorable little sound. So here's our mourning dove, and mourning as in crying, M-O-U-R-N-I-G, because they do sound like they're crying. A lot of people think when they hear them, they think they're hearing an owl, but it's usually a mourning dove because it's going, ooh, ooh. and it sounds like they're sobbing. So mourning doves, they tend to make terrible nests. We end up with a lot of mourning doves here just because their babies do fall out of their terrible nests, and it's often hard to find out where they came from because the nests are so poor, they're hard to identify. That is our recommendation, is putting nests back. You can see quite a bit happening. Those cowbirds are enjoying it here. Like I said, parasitic brooders. You can see those gray ones really blend in. And yes, the squirrels are acting up. And I see that we have some visitors over at our water dish. We also have some at the feeder that we made. And these birds are so appreciative that some other birds may have thrown things on the ground. Here's our squirrel friend. That one's for you. So if you guys wanted to do something with your kids, or if you wanted to journal, like I said, it's just to write down some of those behaviors, because I am here by myself. I might just start taking data. I need to add that I saw a mourning dove. And one thing that you could do is add these on eBird, which is a wonderful technology tool to share with people about what kind of birds you saw and where you saw them. So I would just write down, what are they doing? Well, the cowbirds tend to stay on the ground, and so does the mourning dove. Now, the tufted titmice, they fly into the feeder and fly straight back to the rhododendrons. Oh, something scared them. 2 squirrels, 3 squirrels. I don't know if you see them all. And a mourning dove. So we're up to 3. I saw a chipmunk earlier. But just know that our trails are still open. We are not state funded, and we are not federally funded. We are a private entity. So feel free to come and visit and walk our trails. We just ask that you practice your social distancing, which is easy to do on 171 acres. And we do rely on donations to keep our facility running. So if you guys wanted to leave a donation, there's several ways to do it. You can either add a donation on Facebook, or you can come and visit. Just add one in our Dropbox. And just know that our animal hospital continues to operate, even with limited resources and limited volunteers because of our current issues. We are using safety to the highest ability. So there's our squirrel friends. They seem to be taking over. And I want you guys to share your feeders. Tell me what kind of birds are in your area. Why don't you guys send me a picture? So if you guys don't have any additional questions, feel free to leave them, because I know I always have questions when somebody says, do you have any questions? So feel free. Oh, I just saw a couple of little birds. I'm excited. So I'm going to sit here for a while. I hope you guys come to visit and you get to sit here for a while. Of course, outside, our nature center is closed. And tell me what you see, either here or in your backyard. And I'm going to turn you around. There you are. And I hope to see you guys here at Cedar Run sometime soon, because we're still here. All right. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer them here on Facebook. I'll talk to you guys later. See you next Saturday. Bye.